back over to the gun rights thing. So, I lost my gun rights for two different reasons. I know this because I eventually went with this company, and I think it's a really good company. I mean, the price was right. Definitely the only lawyer that wouldn't hang up on me more than 4 years ago. It's like an online lawyer, and you kind of get an online login. It's called like recordgun.com. Anyway, I was giving them a shout out. I'm going to put that in the video below. I think they got some YouTube videos. I got nothing but positive things to say about them. They did a really good job with the kind of case that they had. When I first called them up, they talked about, well, what you need to do is a firearms rights analysis. So, you give them $250, and what happened is over the course of 4 months, I got a login, and I would log in, and they'd give me stuff to do. So I had to go to get a Washington State Patrol background check, and then I logged in online to do that, and that was pretty easy. But then I needed one sent to me, and it had to be certified. So I think one's a certain amount of money, but if you want the certified one, it comes out to like $25, and what they do is they send it to you in the mail. I then scanned that and sent that to my lawyer, and then they asked me to get a FBI background check, and that one was a lot harder. But basically, I went to their website, and they give you instructions on their website, and kind of like a how-to page, and then it got me over to another link, and I just found a chandler. And what a chandler does is they get between you and the FBI, and they deliver your documents. Now, when I went to go get this firearms, when I went to go get this background check, I had to fill out this paperwork, get a fresh copy of my fingerprints. So I just went down to Yakima Police Department, and I bought 2 sets of fingerprints. And the reason why is they always say at least send 2 in, because if they deny a set of fingerprints for some reason, or you didn't write in the little boxes correctly, brown eyes, black hair, whatever it is that you have, they could deny those fingerprints, and then you're stuck. But if you send them 2, they might accept 1, more so than another one. Although they're all digital now, so yeah, for whatever reason, I had to get 2 sets of fingerprints, and I sent those. And my request to get this done onto an FBI chandler, I'll have to see if I have those old links on my main computer. It's kind of in storage right now, so I'll look it up, and eventually I'll add it to this video so you can see where I went. And you could pay for expedited shipping back, but it's a physical document that you get, that you print it out. So I couldn't afford it at that time, so I had to pay the chandler, and the chandler was like $25-$30, and then 6 something shipping for the slow shipping back. And I sent my stuff in, they got it, they submitted it to the FBI. I don't know how many times they did it. They did it it seemed pretty quick. They let me know that they had got my record, and they sent it back. And I think that's just to show, if you're trying to get your gun rights back, in Washington State anyway, and I don't know if this works all the same in other states. All I can talk about is what I know, is they needed to see that if I had any other records anywhere else, and the FBI kind of shows everything. And it also shows arrests, even if they're not convictions. But anyway, it was no small task. I get that back to them, and I wait about 4 weeks with this lawyer from recordgun.com. And they get back to me, and they're like, well, they kind of explain that, Washington state laws and federal laws are different sets of laws, and they run independently of themselves. But generally, if you lose your gun rights back at the state level, and you're eligible to get them back in that state, or the state provides a way for you to do that, then the federal side will, look at that and then pretty much release you to get your gun rights back. But I mean, it's still up in the air. I didn't know. I'm still kind of skeptical because of just my record. I had a residential burglary, and I had an involuntary commitment, and the involuntary commitment is the one that got me. Washington State has no federally recognized program to give back gun rights for people that have been formally committed to a mental hospital. I didn't know that exactly at that moment. They do supply a lot of records to NICS, but when I talked to a well-seasoned 30-year veteran from the ATF later on, I mean, this is obviously years later, he explained it that he had talked to their prosecuting attorney, and it was kind of like that if Washington State was supposed to do 16 things to give you your gun rights back for an involuntary commitment, it only does like 8. But this was just an example. I'm not saying the number 16 or the number's 8. What I'm saying is that our state is only doing like half if you're a Washingtonian. Which I didn't know. And no clue at all. So I and since I had the mental health thingy, I had to do more steps. I had to get I went down to comprehensive mental health. I got a psych evaluation. Of course, I passed. I mean, I was on a bunch of street drugs 20 years ago. I was kind of idiot. That's further back in the stories if you want to go look at that stuff. I haven't had any trouble in like 20 plus years. I haven't been doing anything except being a goody two-shoes boy, nothing else. I don't use street drugs, and surprisingly enough, once I stopped the street drugs, I stopped getting in trouble. Stopped having psychiatric symptoms. Apparently the rat poison inside the drugs wasn't doing me any good. But whatever. I go through this process. I mean, and there was a couple of things that kind of got me in this process, and we didn't know. I mean, we're just kind of learning along. This lawyer that we have practices in the state, but they're also, mainly based out of California. Anyways, so the first time I went up in front of a judge, I was in Tacoma. Well, inside of the Washington law, it basically, I mean, and I don't understand the law, but you're supposed to go to the jurisdiction that it happened in if you live in that jurisdiction. But if you don't live in that jurisdiction, or you don't live in the state, then you need to go to the jurisdiction, say, your felony was in. But if you don't live in the state, then you go to that jurisdiction. If you do live in the state, then you go to the jurisdiction or the superior court that you're in the county of. And that was a hard thing to learn. I was in front of this judge, and we're in Tacoma, and I'm from Yakima County, and this is Tacoma County, or wherever Tacoma County is, I'm in Tacoma, and this judge, starts talking. I'm finally in front of the judge. The first time I went there, they wouldn't even see me. I was on the docket, but they just never saw me. It was weird. So, I mean, my lawyer was trying. I was very frustrated, but it wasn't like their fault. It just, you get into court and you wait. I mean, that's what you do. Well, I traveled 200 miles. The second time I'm in front of this lady, and she signed the giving the rights back for the felony, but she wanted more time to review the mental health aspect, and they decided to split it up into 2 forms, which is more complicated. Anyways, but then my attorney that they had, they kind of outsource attorneys, so they just, get whatever attorney. He was just like, well, Kia has to drive here from, Yakima. It's kind of a big burden. He has to take time off work, get out here. And the judge looked at him and was like, he's not from this county? And he's like, no, he's from Yakima. And she was like, she grabs the paper that she just signed and rips it up, and she takes all of the papers from that we filed that she has on her desk, and she just rips them up and throws them in her own garbage. And then she pulls up the law, and she's just like, at the county that you reside in, and she points that out. You're in the wrong courtroom. And I'm just standing there like, she rips up my papers, you know? I mean, I'm thousands of dollars in, and I guess I don't really understand. Like, I'm at this point, like, I spent 3 grand to have this attorney stand in front of this judge. You know, gobs of paperwork. You have to file like every single court thing, and I know it's my fault. I'm not complaining. So anytime that I had an offense like against me, like if it's criminal trespass, I mean, whatever it is, I had to go to that court and get certified copies. Not just copies. They're not 10 cents a piece. They're like $5 a page, $6 a page at their whim. They just make numbers up, and then you do. Well, that'll be $100, please. And you're just like for the pay because you have to have every single paper throughout the whole case, beginning and ending, and then they stamp it and approve that this document came from that courthouse. Well, I do several courthouses to go to. I'm gonna pause the video, start it again. I don't want these things to go too long.